Hey, y'all. Welcome back to the show. It is your host, Lizzie Morris, or you can also call me the Woman's Advocate. I'm a 26-year-old mom of two, entrepreneur, inspirational speaker, advocate, mentor, and friend. And I'm on a mission to empower you on your healing journey, help you find your inner voice, and guide you to step into the most powerful advocate any woman could have, herself. My goal after you leave the podcast is for you to feel empowerful in your right to bodily autonomy, inspired to self-educate and advocate, and ready to step into the next level that your womanhood has to offer you. Subscribe to the show and always check the show notes for added resources, value, and information on how to work one-on-one with me, Lizzie, the Woman's Advocate, and other ways to contact me if you have questions. I hope you guys enjoy this episode of the show, and I will see you next time. Hey friends, I am so happy to have you back on the podcast, and I have a new and fresh approach to the podcast that I'm so elated to start talking about. So if you don't know, I'll give you a quick update and then we'll move on from me. But I have been really looking and evaluating not just my past experiences in pregnancy, labor, motherhood, all the things, but just in life. And, there was a moment where not too long ago, in the last year or so, where I felt the need, I felt the urge to help plus size women. More specifically, I am the Woman's Advocate, but we are kind of leaning more towards the plus size Woman's Advocate as far as content goes, because I noticed, there's just a lack of representation, even though there are more and more plus size women, more and more plus size moms, people just living in plus size bodies out there. And there's just not enough resources for us, or the resources or the content or the information that you might easily find on the internet without having to deep dive and search specific keywords. And then it's just the whole thing, right? The content you might see might be full of talking about just the risks and the bad things about being bigger, or you go on Google and something I've learned is that they like to cut off our faces off our bodies, like a lot of plus size pregnant bodies. They don't show the faces. There's a lot of shame. You'll see pictures of women looking at their bodies in disgust and just the way they're portrayed. And so even though we make up a big portion of the population, in media and in things, we are represented less than 2%. And that even the representation we have is just the stigma around, oh, you're bigger, you're fat. And I use fat as a I use it in my day-to-day life, and it's not derogatory towards me, personally. So you might hear me say that on the podcast, but people using it in a derogatory way where you're fat and you just don't deserve anything. And it is something that people look at plus size people in general, but let's talk about women, because the view of women is already skewed. It's already looked down upon. We're not considered as smart or as strong or XYZ, but when someone is bigger, there is a notion that they must not be smart. They obviously, I use air quotes, obviously don't take care of themselves. How can you be that? There's a lot of disgust, and whatnot. And so when I had this feeling of, okay, I need to talk to my people. My people are the plus size women, the natural minded, more holistic approach, people that think like that, like the plus size mom. And I think there's a lot of us out there, and I think that we're just not welcome in many spaces, or there's just always this, not always, but for many of us, a fear of being judged, or someone always wanting to bring up your weight specifically. And there's just not this whole way of viewing who you are as a person, and why anything, why you make the decisions you make, why you dress, just anything, right? And so, but I have been on this, we'll call it a health journey for quite a while. And I remember telling myself, I was like, well, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to cater to plus size women, because I don't think I'm going to be plus size forever. And that was really my thinking. I was like, I'm not going to be plus size forever, which might be true, but I actually had this honest conversation with myself a couple weeks ago, and I was like, you're still very much plus size, and the odds of you being plus size for at least the next 5 years, no matter how much weight you lose, is pretty still high. I will probably be plus size for most of my life, and just like I have. And I still do things to work on my health and whatever, but I was like, yeah, I don't want to say perfect person, but I am a person who absolutely can relate with other plus size women, no matter what stage, no matter what size you are, because I've been varieties of sizes, and been in different places in my life, in my journey of body confidence, of body acceptance, of learning how to stand up for myself against medical stigma, about improving my health with not always obsessing over the scale, looking at blood work and finding ways to really take care of myself, that didn't involve toxic, weight culture or the stigma. So when I had that honest conversation with myself, I really was like, okay, we're going to do this. We're really going to go out there, because there's not a lot of resources. In fact, when I was pregnant, I didn't really even search plus size, like things for, like, I was in like one plus size group, because there's like 2 of them out there and that's it. And as far as like resources and help and content, I most recently, I found a few more Instagram pages that have been out there, but I couldn't even find them in my last pregnancy. It's like we're on the dark web or something. It's so weird. And so we have a gap, and I want to help fill that. And so if you're here, I'm really excited. I feel really like it's on my heart. It's my mission. It's where my higher power has been leading me all my life, all my entire life, to be here and to start really trying to make a difference and doing my part to help. So if you're here, thank you so much. This is the Woman's Advocate podcast. I'll probably rebrand it the Plus Size Woman's Advocate. I don't know. We'll see how what it lets me do. But I did want to let you guys know that this is a place for plus size women, and more specifically, if you are on the more natural approach, and that can mean different things to different people. But I think for the most part, if you're natural minded, you are, no matter what level it is. I think this is the place for you. And I really want to make and create a safe space where you can, find resources, where you can learn and grow and have a community of people that are on similar paths in life and have, similar morals and values, but have also walked in a plus size woman's shoes, which is not always easy. So I want to go over today just a couple of basic questions that maybe you have if maybe you're trying to conceive. So this can even go if you're just a plus size woman who you're in the childbearing years, really any of this is for you. So maybe you're trying to conceive, maybe you already have a few kids, or maybe you're pregnant for the first time. No matter where you're at, these might be some questions that you've had or you've thought about when it comes to like pregnancy, maybe labor and delivery, maybe some postpartum things. And I just want to disclaim that none of this is medical advice. I am not your doctor. I am not your midwife. I am not any of those things. So all that I am giving you is my opinion and the things that I have learned. And I always encourage people to go do their own research, be their best advocate, and so let's go ahead and get into it. So, and if you have any questions, I would love to receive them. So I'll actually have my email in the show notes. It is the plussizewomansadvocate@gmail.com. So if you ever have questions, stories you want to share, you can either email me there or find me on my social media platforms, which again are always linked below. Alrighty, so number 1, can I have a natural birth as a plus size woman? So the answer is yes, absolutely. Some things we'll get into more as the podcast goes on, and hopefully we have some guests and different, doctors and midwives and nurses and doulas and things like that can chime in on these topics. But you are absolutely, just being in a plus size body, being a woman, having a uterus can qualify you for a natural birth depending on the circumstance. So absolutely you can. Let's see. The next question is, how can I manage and maintain a healthy weight during pregnancy without resorting to restrictive diets? So this is actually something I see quite often in some of the groups that I've been in. even people wanting to lose weight when pregnant. And again, talk to your doctor, talk to your person. I think managing weight is great, finding ways to manage your health. But my biggest recommendation is when you are pregnant to not count calories, but to count nutrition. And so there is a book. Everything will be in the show notes. If I say it, it's linked, it'll be in the show notes. But I read a book in my last pregnancy. I think it was just called like Nutrition for Pregnancy. It was probably a very basic title, but it was phenomenal. It was a kind of a bigger book, but it had so many great things on like actually why it's not about calories. It's about protein. It's about, the vitamins and the food and the minerals that you need to keep replenishing while being pregnant. And that is ultimately so much more important than the number on the scale or, trying to stay at like 1,500 calories a day. That is just my opinion. As someone who has had that struggle, my first pregnancy, I was terrified of gaining weight, and I only gained 5 pounds. In the second pregnancy, I was much healthier and I gained 19 pounds. So, it's listen to your body, do some research, read some things about nutrition. Most doctors are not educated in balanced nutrition, just FYI. So it's really, really good to do some research on your own. Okay, the next question. Are there any specific exercises or physical activities that are safe for me during pregnancy? So as far as like things that would be probably a lot more like easy and less impactful on your body, I think swimming is one of the best, not just for plus size women, but like when you're pregnant. Oh my gosh. And it's summertime now if you guys are listening. It is July 28th and I live in the South and it is hot. It is so hot. So I think swimming is just honestly, it's like my go-to. Otherwise, just general walking, like just walking every day for 30 minutes, going at your own pace, is just, that is great. And they say, if you didn't exercise heavily or do, any kind of routines like that before pregnancy, it's best not to pick up new things, but keep doing what you were doing. And so, just keep that in mind. But I think walking and swimming is probably just the safest and most enjoyable. And you really want to focus. We'll go into more of this, of course, but when I look at movement instead of like exercise, right? When I look at movement as something that I just enjoy, it's just so much different, right, than feeling like a chore. So, okay, the next question. How can I find a healthcare provider who is supportive of my natural-minded approach to pregnancy and childbirth as a plus-size woman? Okay, so this one can be tricky. I have seen women try to interview doctors before getting pregnant. Now, if that is something you can accomplish, oh my gosh, I think that's phenomenal to do that before pregnancy, because once you're pregnant, then you are on a limit. Certain providers will only take you within, like before the third trimester. Sometimes they don't even want to take you in the second, depending on how far along you are. And so I have seen women have struggles to try to interview providers, like that if you're not pregnant or like seeking a service, it's kind of hard to get the appointments booked, but that depends on your location. So that is just a good, a thought if you can interview people. And I wouldn't just take your friend's word that they had a good doctor, because it is different for everybody and everybody will pick up completely different vibes. Now, with that being said, even then, going and interviewing somebody and giving them like a list of questions, which we could totally do a podcast episode on like questions to ask providers if you have again, a natural-minded approach to labor and delivery or pregnancy, whatever, what kind of questions you could ask in an interview. But my honest best recommendation is to seek out a midwife. Being plus size, you can still have home births. You can still hire a midwife. Many plus size women still give birth at birth centers. And that is where you tend to find people that align more in your favor of limiting interventions. Does that mean it's always that way? No. However, your bets are higher in those areas. So Let's see, what's the next question? Are there any particular nutritional considerations or supplements that are beneficial during pregnancy? So we talked about, obviously, reading that book, Nutrition in Pregnancy, learning the foods that are going to keep you in the best health and give you the most like energy and filling your nutritional gaps. I know some mamas, poor things like myself in my last pregnancy, might deal with hyperemesis where you're just not able to eat the great things, or it's just a big struggle. And so supplementing can be like a lifesaver. And even if you can eat, it's still great to supplement. So obviously talk to your provider about what supplements that you would like to take before taking them. I will tell you what I have loved taking and what I literally think saved my life at the end of my last pregnancy, and also things that I just keep taking now because they're just great for your health. One of my favorite things is organic grass. Oh, I don't even have organic speaking of, but grass-fed beef liver. Now, a lot of people are like, what? Okay. So I take it in a pill. You cannot taste it, especially if you like use a chaser, right? Like you're taking pills. And I started taking that at the end of my last pregnancy because I had low iron and I wanted to have a home birth. And so you know, there's things that you do to make sure it's going to be healthy for you and your baby. And so I started taking beef liver instead of iron pills because I had done some research and just saw that the iron supplements that you get at the pharmacy or from your doctor, don't tend to absorb well. They also can give you a lot of weird side effects like constipation and blah, blah, blah. And so I saw beef liver was like becoming a popular thing, or it's probably been a popular thing. And I was like, I'm not going to eat the organ meat itself. So on Amazon, again, I'll have it linked below. I actually have like a couple, I think most of my supplements come from Amazon, but I started taking that, and I will tell you, the last month of my pregnancy, I was not sick at all. And I really feel like it was the beef liver filling my nutritional gaps and just, you know, restoring all of these things that I was missing. And so, beef liver is also more bioavailable. So it will it'll acclimate to your body better and your body will absorb it better. So I used, beef liver. I guess it was more it wasn't the entire end of my pregnancy, but it was like probably more of the third trimester. And then it was like by the end, I probably like everything was just getting better. So I, moving forward, would use that as like a prenatal instead of like a regular prenatal. So I think that's a really good supplement. And honestly, depending on lab work. So for instance, like my DHEA was low in my last pregnancy. So I, had started taking DHEA, and you might not need that though. So there's different supplements out there. I would say beef liver is just one of those things. It's like, I feel like it could work for almost anybody. Again, talk to your doctor, but, beef liver, magnesium, glycinate. Oh my gosh. Let me tell you, restless leg mommies, or my girls that actually do struggle using the bathroom and staying regular, or like you're not getting good sleep, especially at the end of pregnancy. Holy smokes. I started taking magnesium. I started supplementing a lot towards the end. I wish I would have done it more in the beginning. The earlier you could do these things, the better a pregnancy you'll have. But magnesium glycinate was from Jesus himself. It was a godsend. You take it at night and the sleep. And even if I didn't sleep great, it's like you wake up feeling rested. Again, these are, so nutritional wise, that's why when you read that book, you guys will see, so many of the vitamins and minerals that make our life so much better that many of us are deficient in. So it might be different for you, but those are just two of my like tops, and definitely get blood work and see where you're deficient. All right, let's see. How can I address body image concerns and maintain a positive self-image throughout pregnancy? So I'm actually working on this right now. I'm super excited. I'm working on a freebie, like an ebook basically, to give out to you guys. And that will be coming out soon. And it's going over everything. It's going to be going over like belly bands, different maternity clothes, like even taking your maternity pictures, like self-love affirmations. It's actually going to be a really, really packed full. I'm already like a third of the way through with it, and there's going to be so many great things in there. So make sure that if you are wanting to download that freebie when it's ready, that you go follow my Instagram. It's at the Lizzie Morris, and Lizzie is spelled with a Y, Lizzy. And I will be posting there when it's ready. And that's going to go over like an in-depth, like full how to address body image and keeping a positive like outlook on your pregnancy and your body, you know, during that time. So look out for that. But overall, I could give you a brief, how can you address it and maintain a positive self-image? So surrounding yourself with people that don't say things like, should you be eating that? Or, you don't want to gain too much weight. Like, I know everyone has a family member out there that like speaks about their body or says things about them. And it's like, surround yourself with the people that are going to make you feel beautiful and uplift you. And if you don't have that in your life, like, seek it out from community and support pages. There are so many women that will uplift and just love on you just for simply existing. And sometimes, like, I know that sounds so basic, like, how's that really going to help me? But I will tell you, in the parts of my life where I really didn't feel like, I loved myself or I loved my body or like I could handle the changes that were happening to me, it was the support of other women that actually you could tell cared, that helped carry me through, And so, find people you could trust that you could talk to, because everyone's concerns or like problems or, whatever's on their mind is going to be different. But yeah, just surround yourself with the right people and continue to, show compassion for yourself. A lot of us show compassion for other people and we don't do it for ourselves. So practice self-compassion. All right. What is the next question? Okay. What are some strategies with coping with potential discrimination or bias from healthcare providers during pregnancy or childbirth due to my size? Yeah. So we already talked about, like, how can you find a good healthcare provider that's supportive? And that would be interviewing, asking tons of questions, and just going with, honestly, your best option. Sometimes we don't always have exactly what we want. But coping with potential discrimination or things that could arise, I would say, making sure that you are empowered and informed. Believing that your body, for the most part, if your body is making a baby and everything is going well, then your body's going to birth that baby well. And of course, there's anomalies and things that might pop up, and usually your body will give you signs of that. But having the confidence, I will tell you, confidence and a support system will take you to the next level. And you might not have a support system. You might not have like a doula or somebody, a husband by your side that, like, whatever is there backing you up and being like, okay, like, we know that this is BS. Like, come on. Cause sometimes when you're in those situations, if a doctor is whether it's because of your size or because of XYZ, it can be really hard to stand up for yourself. It can be really hard to not internalize what they say, even if you are already confident. So again, it's not an easy situation to be in. But if you find that, I say prepping ahead of time, making sure that, like, whatever is the case coming up, if they say, well, your body's just too big to birth your baby. Like, I've literally seen, I'm not kidding, in a group one time that a doctor told a woman that she had too much fat in her vagina and her baby would not fit out. Like, please be real with me. So you just got to know that some of the things that are said to you are literally wild and have no backing of them. But secondly, knowing the evidence for yourself and doing the due diligence before you get put into that situation will help, like, you cope even better. But yeah, if your doctor brings up some weird, funky stuff that you're like, what are you talking about? Then you ask, okay, can you explain the risks and the benefits? And we will do podcast episodes on that in the future, but there's these will be really, really good conversations that we could start having. All right, what's the next one? What are some natural-minded approaches to postpartum care and recovery that are suitable for plus-size women? Okay, so this would be depending on, like, what kind of birth you had. So for me, I had a C-section, and I wish I would have, known more about how to care for that afterwards. But there are a lot of different things that you can do. So say, for instance, we'll talk about C-sections. You can do, once your scar heals, you could do therapy, like massage therapy on your scar to help you heal more. There's obviously supplements you can take. I would continue taking your prenatals or your beef liver. That will help you recover those minerals and nutrients, especially if you're breastfeeding. When you breastfeed, believe your body is taking even more out of you than when you're pregnant, which is wild, isn't it? And so keeping up with supplements, drinking things like red raspberry leaf tea, which will help tone your uterus and get it to shrink back down. It'll help with bleeding, help with cramping. That's one of my favorites, red raspberry leaf tea, making sure you are staying hydrated. Those are like basic, very natural, just super simple things that you can do. As far as there's a lot of postpartum care items that kind of mimic what you might get at the hospital. So for instance, the hospital gives you Dermaplast, but there is something I bought from somebody. She owns a like organic body care shop, and it was called Afterbirth Coochie Spray. And I used it. I think I have Dermaplast, but I don't think I ever used it. So I used the Afterbirth Coochie Spray, and it was great. I loved it. I feel like it did a great job. And so I will definitely, could be something we put together in a resource too, of what are the different more like organic options, or just, even nipple creams instead of using, how do you say that? I can't even remember the word, but there's this nipple cream that like everyone uses. And instead you could literally use like olive oil, or I think some people do coconut oil or things like that to relieve nipple pain, or Silverettes, which is a little contraption, the silver stuff you put on your nipples, and it helps soothe them and helps when they're cracked and all this stuff. And that's without, having to use other products or medications or anything. So yeah, let's see. And I think this is the last one. Okay, cool. So are there any support groups or resources specifically for natural-minded plus-size women during pregnancy and beyond? So I am so excited about this question because I just opened my free Facebook group. It's called Empowering Plus-Size Mamas, Nurturing Natural Motherhood. And I finally decided to make this group because, like I've said earlier, as plus size women, we don't have many resources. We don't have many places to look. And while I enjoy some of the spaces I'm in the plus size community online, again, it wasn't natural minded most of the time, and that's fine. It just wasn't what I was looking for. That didn't have the things that I needed and the things that I wish I had in my pregnancies. So I just opened up that Facebook group. I will have it in the description again, like everything else, but we just got it started. We just opened it like a day or two ago. So overall, I am really hopeful. If you go and join, like, feel free to post, ask questions, like just show your family, like do whatever it is that you want to do. But I really want it to be a place where we can share birth stories, or we can share, okay, like how did you advocate for what you wanted in your pregnancy, even postpartum, you got to advocate all the time, not even just based on your size. So what are the things that you did that helped you that might help someone else? And especially if we have, again, this natural minded approach, which is popular, but not as popular. It's just not. But there is a subgroup of us that need that support in that place. So again, the group is called Empowering Plus Size Mamas. I'm so happy for you to join and be a part of it. And I think that you guys would have fun there, and we can make a really positive community that is just, you're not going to find it anywhere else. You're not going to find this community anywhere. So we'd love to have you there. And yeah, so that's all the questions I have for you guys. These are just some of the ones that I was able to find that were just really, really common, or that, some of them were on my mind as well in different places in my life. So if you have more questions, if you have anything that you want to ask or anything you want to add, you can DM me on Instagram, Facebook, or email me as always. And I am excited to see where this podcast and this community and everything goes. So I love you guys so much. Make sure you do subscribe. That way you will get future downloads as soon as they come out. And that way you don't miss anything. All right. Can't wait to see you in the next show. Bye, guys.